Pancake murders shook the citizens of Willow Creek to their core. Even 5 years after the fact, Eliza Pancake's name is still spoken about in hushed voices. Anyone who knew Eliza knew she wasn't ever playing with the full deck, but no one could have ever predicted the horrible act she would later go on to commit. And the poor man who loved her, named Bob. It's important to mention that tonight's episode will be a multi-part series focusing on the many crimes of Eliza Pancake. On our debut episode, we will be focusing on Eliza Pancake's humble beginnings when she was known simply as Eliza Newby, born to Bob and Betty Newby in the small desert town of Strangeville. Eliza would come to know tragedy at a young age when a devastating house fire claimed the lives of both her parents, Bob and Betty. The fire, initially believed to be a tragic accident caused by a faulty chimney and an unfortunate shag carpet reinstallation. As the investigation unfolded, crime scene investigators combed through the charred remains of the Newby residence. Their findings pointed to a tragic accident, and foul play was officially ruled out. And the case was closed as Eliza was sent to the small orphanage that resided in town. But the whispers and rumors persisted, with some in Strangeville convinced that Eliza had had a hand in the fire that claimed the lives of her parents, resulting in, from the time Eliza was 6, she did not leave the orphanage until she was a legal adult at 18 years old. Despite the many attempts the orphanage made trying to find a foster family for dear Eliza. While investigating our story, we spoke to several residents of Strangeville who remembered the events surrounding the Newby house fire. One of the neighbors, who wished to remain anonymous, shared their suspicions with our camera crew. It just never made sense. It was just too convenient, you know? The fire happens and suddenly Eliza's left all alone. I always had a sneaking suspicion something wasn't right with that girl. I even shared it with my wife, Betty Lou, before she died. God rest her soul. And she agreed something wasn't right with the child. I don't blame no one for ever trying to foster her. The damn girl didn't even have any grandparents that stepped up. Aunts, uncles, cousins, nothing. Hell, I even have a sneaking suspicion that she might have even came from that damn science institute up the road there. You know, that place that pretends it don't have any aliens, but if you look around Strangeville long enough, you know that place sure as hell at least got aliens. You should see the shit that comes up from my drain. Anyway, what were we talking about again? While no evidence has ever officially been found that connects Eliza to the murder of her parents, it certainly didn't help her upbringing and makes for a pretty clear choice as to why she would later, as she grew older, she made a decision that would shape her future. Instead of staying in Strangeville, where she was clearly unwanted, Eliza decided to move to Windenburg, where Eliza could get a fresh start and not have the death of her parents hanging over her head. Unfortunately for Eliza, you cannot run your own nature. Eliza quickly secured a job at the local neighborhood bar, the Old Quarter Inn. This pub-style establishment attracted a pretty diverse crowd, thanks to it being so close to a nearby community college and a surprisingly booming financial district. A bartender by the name of Clarence Atwater vanished, never to be seen or heard from again. Sorry, Time to punch out Clarence. Friday nights are mine now, along with the rest of your shifts. It was at the Old Quarter Inn that Eliza would encounter two individuals who would play a significant role in her life, Lily and Victor Fang. The broadcast team at Oddball Antiques and Oddities was able to secure another anonymous interview. This time, a bar patron who happened to be in the Old Quarter Inn on the night the Fang family met Eliza. Yes, I remember the night well. I had just received my weekly gold coins. I get paid the first Friday of every month from our generous King Steve. That is why I had happened to settle upon the old Quarter Inn on that fateful night. I found myself amidst a lively atmosphere after concluding my shift at the local Renaissance festival. Clad in my nightly attire, I entered the bar. To my surprise, I spotted the ever so powerful couple, the Fangs, Victor and Lily, engaging with the bar patrons. A very humbling sight, seeing our ever so mighty mixing with us so common. But it soon became evident they were simply there collecting votes for Victor's political campaign. Their intentions were veiled beneath the facade of charm and charisma. As I approached, still not deterred, still wearing my knightly armor proudly, Lily couldn't seem to resist belittling my appearance, mocking my presence, and stating she had never been in such a low-rent establishment in all of her life. I, well-versed in screaming children, overpriced pickles, and the sharp tongues of court jesters, maintained my dignity against that ever so I'd been around a noble lady or two in my younger years. It was quite clear that Lily and Victor had been fighting most of that evening, and it only became more evident once Lily excused herself and went upstairs to the bathroom, her anger palpable. This caught the attention of more than just me, as the young, new bartender Eliza, a compassionate woman, despite her public reputation, followed Lily, mistaking her distress for the need of solace. Little did they know their conversation would be heard by the entire bar, including myself. Mr. Fang, on the other hand, seemed to have just chugged another beer, clearly used to Lily's burst of anger. The new tavern maid, Eliza, this is before anyone knew her name or infamy, chased Lily upstairs, thinking she needed comfort. See, despite all of Eliza's heinous crimes, I must admit the woman I knew was nothing but a sweet flower on a summer day, and I still maintain that image of her in my head. I just think of her now as a poisonous flower. The argument was loud, but we could not make out direct words, but by the way the walls were vibrating, no one dared step a foot up there. It was clear that while Lily put up a good match, Eliza must have said something, because by the time Lily made her way back downstairs, she was in such a state she left her husband Victor in his cups and hailed a taxi home. I witnessed all this, for the old Tavern Inn had just recently banned indoor smoking, and I cannot live without my Pall Malls. By the time I had wandered back into the bar, Eliza and Victor had made themselves known to each other. Eliza, with a warm smile, offered Victor another drink, attempting to ease the tension that lingered in the air. Their conversation seemed pleasant enough. Hell, we all even joined in on drinking songs to top the night off. I did notice Lily and Victor exchanging numbers, but he's a politician. At the time, I just assumed he was getting votes. It wouldn't be until weeks later, when the YouTube video went viral, that I realized the two must have struck up quite an affair from that night. While initially Eliza and Victor tried to keep their affair under wraps, it wasn't long before their rampant displays of public affection was captured in a social media video that was later posted to many different social media accounts depicting Victor and Eliza on a wild date night captured at the local club. Chaos, the affair between Eliza and Victor Fang became the talk of the town, captivating the media and public alike. Amidst the scandal, questions arose around Eliza's past and her potential involvement in the mysterious events that seemed to follow her wherever she went. But thanks to Victor's political power, he was able to quietly remove any suspicion, or should I say, suspicious people, from interrogating Eliza or her life. Potential involvement and the mysterious events that seemed to follow her wherever she went. But thanks to Victor's political power, he was able to quietly remove any suspicion, or should I say, suspicious people, from interrogating Eliza or her life with his own political connections. Then, despite the not-so-nice press the couple was getting, it seemed to have the opposite effect on Victor Fang at the voting polls. So I wasn't going to vote for Victor Fang because, he's kind of just boring and all he wants to do is talk about, our, nation's debt and who wants to hear about that. But, since, seeing that he has both, a hot wife and a hot side piece, that's a man I can get behind because he seems to know what's important. And, that's, a candidate I can get behind. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to vote for Victor Fang. Fang gang forever, yo. Lily, on the other hand, unwilling to admit the troubled state of her marriage, allowed the affair to continue without a word, fearing the satisfaction it would bring the media and her husband if she was to acknowledge the problems within her own relationship. Eliza felt on top of the world. For her, the affair with Victor Fang was more than just a forbidden romance. It was a mean to an end, a stepping stone towards a life she always believed she deserved. Eliza, who had a humble beginning and a small one-bedroom trailer in Strangeville, always harbored dreams of obtaining great power and wealth. And with Victor, she truly thought she would be able to get those things. After, of course, his wife was out of the picture. The true extent of Eliza's ambitions became even more evident when the police reports revealed a shocking incident at the Old Quarter Inn when Eliza was giving her resignation. According to these reports, Eliza broke into the establishment with the intentions of stealing a television and whatever she could find in the cash box. But things quickly took an even more sinister turn when Eliza set her boss, Peeping Tom, on fire. Miraculously, though, Eliza managed to extinguish the flames herself before informing her boss that she was quitting. To which Peeping Tom yelled that he had already fired her she hadn't been to work in over a month. Eliza then bribed him before walking out of the Old Tavern Inn. Charges were quickly filed against Eliza, but would later be dropped due to the lack of evidence and her boss's sudden refusal to press any charges. Charges were quickly filed against Eliza, but would later be dropped due to the lack of evidence and her boss's sudden refusal to press any charges. The only thing he requested, however, was a permanent restraining order against Eliza, to which she would never be able to come within 1,000 feet of him or his establishment, to which the judge granted. Within 1,000 feet of him or his establishment, to which the judge granted. Be unsettling and definitely made him start thinking differently towards Eliza. He still used his contacts in the local district attorney's office to get Eliza's record permanently sponged and sealed, so no one would ever, especially the media, would find out about his fiery mistress and her fiery incident. This is when Victor began to pull away, causing Eliza to show up unannounced at Victor and Lily's apartment. Her behavior was so unhinged that Victor, fearing that she might try to set the place on fire, felt compelled to go along with whatever her erratic actions were, which led Lily, who had been taking a nap at the time, to wake up to find Eliza and her husband in a deeply passionate moment, leading to which directly caused a heated confrontation between Lily and Eliza, a fight that was so severe in nature that Victor would later retell in court he feared that both women were going to tear each other apart. After the fight, Victor managed to calm Eliza down enough to get her to leave. Overwhelmed by guilt and desperation, Victor broke down to his wife, begging her to find a way to make Eliza go away for good. Lily, a fighter in her own right, made a decision that would change the course of their life. She arranged a meeting with Eliza at a local coffee shop, armed with a plan to rid themselves of Eliza's presence once and for all. Lily offered Eliza a substantial sum of money along with an NDA, ensuring that Eliza would never contact Lily or Victor again. But Lily's offer came with a chilling threat. She reminded Eliza of the unresolved mystery that surrounded the death of her parents, and even insinuated that Lily had the power to reopen the case and have Eliza investigated. It was a high-stakes gamble, a move Lily only did to protect her marriage and, of course, her own sanity. And while Eliza seemed like she took the news in stride and even backed down from Lily's threats, she signed the NDA, took the money, and seemed pretty calm as she walked outside the coffee shop doors. Rage would come later when she would call Victor about the recent incident, only to find out that Eliza's number had been blocked and a plan of revenge would soon take. Well, okay. Ugh. Shape, Eliza, driven by her obsession, began stalking the couple's apartment complex, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. While Lily and Victor were caught up in a passionate woohoo session, Eliza seized her chance and slipped into the apartment complex, intent on stealing valuable items and sabotaging any electrical equipment she could find, and she certainly did. Later on, after arrest, Eliza would deny tampering with the equipment when questioned by the police, but it is highly suspected that Eliza had intended to set the apartment on fire as a form of retaliation against Victor by cutting her off financially and ending their affair, throwing Eliza out of the lavish lifestyle she always thought she deserved. Fortunately, Victor's quick thinking saved the couple and their apartment from disaster. He managed to put out a fire caused by the sabotage before it could spread and cause any further damage or hurt anyone living in the apartment complex. A police report was filed by the Fang couple about their stolen and sabotaged belongings, but nothing ever came from the investigation in the beginning because Eliza had a solid alibi, and upon search of her house, police officers could not find a single item that had once belonged to the Fangs, causing much frustration within the couple. But Victor, determined to bring Eliza to justice, devised a plan in which he would make one final call to Eliza, a call that would make it seem that he wanted to get back together with her. But unbeknownst to Eliza, Victor went to their date, not only wearing his best tux, but a wire, with the intent of capturing their entire conversation as evidence. With his wire secured in place, Victor arranged to meet Eliza one last time. As they came face to face, Victor skillfully provoked Eliza, pushing her to the brink until she could hold it no longer and confessed her crimes in a fit of rage. The same political connections Victor had once used to shield Eliza from her violent crimes, Victor this time used to make sure Eliza would not get away with them. The growing argument between Eliza and Victor was quickly de-escalated by the arrival of the police, who had been monitoring the whole situation and listening to Victor's wire the entire time. But the police moved too quickly. As she sat in the back of the police cruiser, seething in anger, the reality of her actions began to sink in. The life she had meticulously built was crumbling around her, and she alone would be left to face the consequences of her own crimes. Thanks to Victor having Eliza's previous criminal record sponged and cleared, technically, by the time Eliza got in front of the judge, she had no prior criminal record. By the time the trial, Eliza had shifted the narrative from scorned mistress to poor, young, manipulated naive, causing the judge to only give Eliza 6 months in prison with a year of probation by the time the trial ended. Confined to her jail cell, Eliza's desperation grew. She tried everything in her power to escape, resorting to self-harm when her attempts failed. One incident in particular truly changed Eliza's time while she awaited out her sentence, and that came in the form of her slipping on a puddle in her jail cell after sabotaging the toilet and sink, trying to get the guards to come in and fix it. She had banged herself up so bad she could barely move. It was at this moment that Eliza's life would forever change when she was unexpectedly greeted by a young cadet officer named Bob Pancakes. Instantly, Eliza felt her heart warm. Bob, with his gentle demeanor, kind heart, intrigued Eliza. She saw in him the potential to make her wildest dreams come true. We conclude the first episode of our investigation into the life of Eliza Pancakes. As we leave her in her jail cell, we are left to wonder what lies ahead for Eliza and Bob. Will their paths intertwine in a way that fulfills Eliza's desires? Or will their connection lead to even more darker and a more sinister outcome? To those of you who've been following the story from the beginning, you probably already think you know the answers to how the story will end. But I assure you, in this investigation, you will discover even more shocking twists that have never been publicly stated about this case until now, with even more exclusive interviews to come in the future. Once again, thank you for visiting Oddball Antiques and Oddities.